Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to be looking at the McFarlane DC Multiverse DC Classics, the Riddler. This is Riddler in his old school spandex jumpsuit. He's got question marks all over him. Apparently there's a Platinum Chase version of Riddler out there as well. I'm on the hunt for a couple of those. So let's take a look at the packaging. As you can see at the top, 22 moving parts, McFarlane Toys, ages 12 plus, DC Multiverse, the Riddler. Here he is in the package. Looks like he has a total of 8 hands, a Riddler cane, display stand, and a collector's card. This figure is utilizing the Blue Beetle and Booster Gold body again, although it looks really good on this guy. One side of the package, the Riddler, DC Classic. I love getting DC Classics by McFarlane. I want more of this. Other side, the Riddler. At the bottom, a bunch of credits, and there's his barcode, in case it helps anybody. And on the back side, here's an image of an old school Riddler from the classic DC comics. So with no further ado, let's open him up. And I did get this figure from the McFarlane Toy Store. I took advantage of the bundle, Superboy Prime, Patina variant, the Riddler, and Catman. Between the bundle discount code and the coupon code, I ended up paying less than retail for all these figures, and that's after shipping and taxes. Alright, now that this figure out of the package, here he is with all the accessories laid out. He comes with 6 alternate hands, totaling 8 interchangeable hands, his signature Riddler cane, and then a display stand and a collector's card. But before we take a look at those, let's talk about and check out the actual figure. So this is the DC Classics Riddler. It's basically a Riddler from the Silver Age classic DC comics. He's in that green spandex jumpsuit, black question marks all over him, purple domino mask. He looks great. Now he's done on the Blue Beetle and Booster Gold body, and sometimes reuse really bothers me, but this is what I call smart reuse. It looks fantastic. The colors, the paint job, it really pops. The body size, it's lean, it's perfect for the Riddler. He has a couple small complaints. He has sculpted sort of boot lines, and I feel like he shouldn't have those. But not that big a deal. They're not that noticeable. There's also a Platinum Chase variant of this Riddler out here. He doesn't have the black question marks. He has, I think, one purple question mark, and he's supposed to be an homage to the old Superpowers Riddler figure. I'll have to work on tracking a couple of those down. It's going to be a pain in the ass, but there's always something to find. So let's take a look at him. Starting with his face, he's got that smiling Riddler face like he's up to something. Old school, a little bit campy. The purple domino mask, he's got white eyes. I can't imagine he has lenses in his eyes, so, whatever. Hair looks good, it's black, a little bit of blue shading in there, kind of sticking up. I love that smile like he's up to something. Black question marks all over him, one large one, a bunch of small ones. Like I said, this is the Blue Beetle Booster Gold body. He's got the abs on top, which looks a little weird. Kind of lines up when you have him about like that, but I don't know. It's not too bad. I like the body. It's small, it's lean, works good. Here are those boot lines I was talking about. I don't know, it looks kind of dumb. Double jointed elbows, double jointed knees. Big giant open awkward hand. As a whole, I'd say he looks great. I want more classic Batman villains. A Penguin, Joker, Catwoman, DC Classics. Almost everything they've done in the DC Classics line I've liked. Blue Beetle, Martian Manhunter. I want more stuff like this. Yeah, I want modern stuff, movie stuff, video game stuff, but I also want a bunch of DC Classics. And a closer look at his face and head sculpt. I like it. It's just like the classic Riddler design. Perfect. And here he is, broken down as far as he can go, with all of his removable parts detached. Now let's check out his accessories, and let's start with the boring stuff. Here's his display stand. Typical McFarlane stand. It's a black perfect circle, very thin, very basic. Now let's look at his collector's card. As you can see, it's an image of the Riddler from the old school comics. He's got a couple of riddles in front of him. Riddler, DC Classic. On the back side, there is a description. If you want to read that, pause now. Now let's look at his hands. He has a total of 8 of them, 4 left hands and 4 right hands. Here he is with his first pair of hands. These are his fists. And not to be crazy nitpicky, but his left fist seems to be a different color. His right sort of sleeve and fist and his left sleeve all seem to match, but his left fist seems a little bit darker, a little bit of a different shade of purple. Like I said, not trying to be super nitpicky, but I definitely see it. And here he is with his next pair of hands. This is a pair of gripping hands, presumably to hold the cane. And I don't know, on this one it seems like his right hand is a little bit darker than the left hand. Here's his third pair of hands. His right hand is a thumbs up. His left hand is pointing. You can see the pointing hand, thumbs up hand. Once again, appropriate for this kind of a Riddler. And then his final pair of hands. His right hand is totally open. Kind of makes me think like he's saying stop. And then his other hand is sort of semi-open. Then for his cane, gold cane, simulating a question mark at the top. It's got, I don't know, sort of a swirly thing going all down the cane. Seems like it's a little bit warped from the packaging. So I took some boiling water, dipped this Riddler cane into it, straightened it out, let it cool down, and now it's good to go. And here are all the different Riddler canes that I've accumulated in my collection. Here's the Riddler, holding and leaning on his cane. And here's Riddler, holding the cane behind his head. So I mentioned earlier that this Riddler was on the Blue Beetle Booster Gold body. I call it that because it was first introduced in the 2-pack with those guys. And sometimes I find a reuse annoying, but I think it's perfect for this Riddler. He looks great. The body is very sort of plain, slim, bland. It's a perfect all-purpose body for a lot of different DC figures. Let's check out what the differences are. So, between Beetle and Riddler, of course, they have different heads. Torso appears to be exactly the same. Arms exactly the same, except Riddler has this little sort of plastic thing above his forearm, simulating part of the sleeve. Diaper piece is different. Legs are identical. It's one thing I don't like is this sort of sculpted boot line. I mean, maybe he has green boots with the green spandex. I guess that's what it is. Not because of the toy, but honestly, I mean, he's got to wear some kind of shoes. So, it's a good body. The only sort of thing that is very noticeable is how the abs stick out on the front here. Like, how Blue Beetle's pose right now looks weird. When you puff him out like this, it looks good, but he really shouldn't have to be sort of puffed out like that. I don't know. I guess I could put the bottom part. It just doesn't quite line up exactly the way I'd like it to. And then you have the abs sort of overhanging and looking a little odd, and it's very noticeable. And that's the only problem with this body, is it draws attention to that because you're so used to it, and it just looks a little bit weird, and then you're like, oh, they're all the same. Look at those abs. Beyond that, excellent reuse on this Riddler. And there are now 7 different figures using this base body. Riddler's the most recent one, and I'm not aware of any other ones upcoming using it, but I'm sure we'll see it again, time and time again. And you know what? These figures all look great. They all look very different from each other, so I don't really have a very big problem with it. Just those abs. Now they've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and his accessories. Now let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, standing at about 6.9 inches tall, which can translate to 17.5 centimeters. Now for his articulation. Starting with his head here, of course, it can rotate from side to side. He can look up and down a pretty good amount, especially down. Tilt his head from one side to the other. Shoulders, ball joint goes out a little bit more than 90 degrees. Up, down, around, all that good stuff. He's got a butterfly joint between his shoulder and chest, increase the range of motion and covering the large gap that would be there. Bicep cut below that. Double jointed elbows, they go all the way in. His wrist can rotate, and it's going to be hinged. Ball joint his torso, rotate around, forward and back. Another one his waist, rotate around, forward and back. Between the two, pretty good range of motion in his torso area. Legs, complete as splits. Not a ball joint, McFarlane style hip joints. Rotation is non-existent. They go forward, about that far. Back, not much. Double jointed knees. Then his ankle, there's a rotation at the top. Forward and back. Tilt, rock. And of course, toe articulation. Here's a look at my Riddler shelf. It's a little lair, villain's lair that my Riddler hangs out at. And a closer look at Riddler. He has his finger up, telling you to hush, or picking his nose. Another look at Riddler, telling you to shush up. Here's Riddler in the streets of Gotham. He's presenting his puzzle box to Batman and Robin, all 3 classic style. Now let's check them out. Next is some of their action figures, starting off with some of their Riddler figures. Now riddle me this. How many different Riddler action figures has McFarlane made so far? It's not a trick question. I am including the new Platinum version of this classic Riddler, not including any statues, simply action figures. We will revisit that question in about a minute. Think it over. Here he is, next to the Batman movie Paul Dano Riddler. And here he is, next to the Arkham City video game Riddler. Here are all the McFarlane DC Multiverse Riddler figures that I have. Need to track down the Platinum Chase variant. And here he is, next to a Diamond Select Toys Enigma from Gotham. Then, next to all of my DC Direct and DC Collectibles Riddler figures. And now, next to all of my Mattel Riddler figures. Here's this new Riddler, next to a Yamato Riddler figure, then with a couple of older Kenner Riddler figures, and now with some McFarlane Batman Classic TV Series 1966 Riddler figures. And there you have it. That is the answer to the riddle. There are a total of 4 McFarlane DC Multiverse Riddler figures, the 3 I have pictured here, as well as a Platinum variant, and then there are 4 from McFarlane's 1966 line, totaling 8 different Riddler figures McFarlane has made so far. Drop me a line in the comments below. Who got the riddle correct? Who didn't? Here's my entire collection of Riddler figures. I believe I have every single one of them in the 6 and 7 inch scale. Here he is, next to a custom Edward Nygma in civilian attire. This one is 7 inch scale. Then a custom Edward Nygma in civilian attire, 6 inch scale. Now let's check him out. Next to some Riddler henchmen. In the film The Batman, there were a ton of people dressed as Riddler, moving around. I thought these Riddler figures, especially because they don't look like a traditional Riddler, would make for some really good Riddler thugs, and it's accurate to the Batman franchise. And here he is, next to a couple of custom Riddler thugs. And here he is, next to 3 different Jazzwares AEW Trent figures. I use these guys as Riddler henchmen. Why, you ask? Well, they all have these question marks on the backside of their jackets. I plan to eventually get around doing head swabs and maybe painting their chests black so it looks like they have a shirt on. But, Riddler henchmen. Now I was trying to think of what other McFarlane DC Multiverse figures are labeled DC Classics, and this Dick Grayson came to mind. I believe Riddler and Dick Grayson are the only 2 Bat characters labeled DC Classics. And as far as I can recall, these are the only 4 figures in the McFarlane line that are specifically labeled DC Classics. I look forward to more. And I believe this Year 2 Batman is the most logical Batman to put with this Riddler. Sure, he's a little bit tall, but he's the closest thing to a Batman from that era. I imagine eventually McFarlane's going to give us a Golden Age and Silver Age Batman. Now let's check him out. Next to some other recently released McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Here he is, next to the Hush Superman and the Tim Drake Robin. And here he is, with some McFarlane Toy Store exclusive gold label figures. We have Superman in his Unchained Armor and Superboy Prime, patina variants, then Catman and Dick Grayson Robin. Then, with a Big Bad Toy Store exclusive black and white accent Martian Manhunter, Superman, and Flash. And now, with the 2 most recent mega figures, the Justice Buster and Anti-Monitor. Here's the Riddler. Next to the first wave of McFarlane Collector Edition figures, we have the first appearance Superman, Abyss, and Alan Scott Green Lantern. Each one of these figures has a Platinum Chase variant. I believe I've secured my Superman and Alan Scott, but I'm looking for the Abyss. Actually, 2 of them. If anybody out there knows where I can get one, or has an extra one, or one they're willing to sell, drop me a line in the comments below. And here he is, next to the Dark Knight Trilogy Gold Label San Diego Comic-Con exclusives variants. We have Bane in his coat, Joker as a bank robber thug, and then Joker seen through the sonar vision. Then, with some more San Diego Comic-Con exclusive figures, we have the 85th Anniversary Superman, the 30th Anniversary Nightfall Batman, the Page Puncher Sketch Mr. Freeze, and the Dark Knight's Metal Alan Scott Dread Lantern. And now, next to the Batman and Spawn 2-pack, here's the Riddler. Next to the Blue Beetle movie wave, we have the regular Blue Beetle, Carapace, and Battle Mode Blue Beetle. Next, let's check him out with some Target exclusive figures. Here he is, next to the Superman vs. Doomsday 2-pack. And here he is, next to some recent Jokerized Target exclusive figures. And here he is, next to some more Target exclusive figures. We have Sinestro Corps Batman, Ted Kord Blue Beetle, Impulse, and Deadman. Then, with the Target exclusive Flashpoint wave, Aquaman, Project Superman, and Flash. And now, with the Injustice 2 3-pack, Batman, Supergirl, and Dr. Fate. Here's the Riddler, next to some recent Walmart exclusive gold label figures. We have the Vampire Joker, Batman and Superman, then Captain Atom, Beast Boy, and Eradicator. And here he is, next to the goofy head sculpt Reaper Superman vs. Ultraman 2-pack. Then, next to the most recent Batman wave, we have the Nightfall Batman, Batman Incorporated Batwing, and the Batman Reborn Two-Faces Batman. And finally, next to the 5th wave of Page Punchers, this is a Batman-themed wave, fighting the Frozen. We have Batman, Robin, Mr. Freeze, and both versions of Batgirl. Now let's check him out, next to some action figures from different various companies, so we can see how he fits in both scale and style-wise, in case you don't know which lines you can mix him with. Since he's a McFarlane toy, they're typically the 7-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of these larger action figure lines I collect, and work way smaller. But first, let's check him out with some of his McFarlane Toys brothers. In front of you are 5 different action figure lines, all from McFarlane Toys, all 7-inch scale. Then, with some more McFarlane Toys, these are from different various video game properties. And now, with some Jakks-specific wrestling figures, here's the Riddler, next to a Crunch Bar. And here he is, next to some DST or Diamond Select toys. Then, with some DC Direct and DC Collectibles figures. And here he is, standing with some NECA toys. Then, with some Mattel wrestling figures. And now, with some Jazzwares AEW wrestlers. And here he is, next to some Mezco 112 collector figures. Then, with some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse figures. And here he is, with some Mafex figures. Then, with some Hasbro Marvel Legends. And here he is, next to some SH Figure Arts action figures. And finally, next to some Jazzwares Fortnite figures. So overall, this is an awesome Riddler figure. DC Classics at its best. I want to see more DC Classics in the McFarlane line. Although personally I would prefer to have a more modern, suited Riddler. But this is very good. I'm not a huge fan of using the same body for figure after figure after figure. I mean, we have the Riddler, Captain Atom, Deadman, Flash, Blue Beetle, ×2, and Booster Gold. But it works. This is what I call smart reuse. Nice job, McFarlane. The color choice they use, the paint job, excellent, top notch. Accessories, ton of hands, a cane, all good. Articulation, everything expected from a McFarlane DC Multiverse figure, except could use a little more thigh articulation, but that is nothing new. If I were to rate this figure, I'm going to give him a very solid 8 out of 10. Enjoying this guy a lot. Like I said, I want to see more classic DC characters. Joker, Penguin, etc. Catwoman, Mr. Freeze. All those guys. Bring them on. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say with the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.